Hello and welcome with another LaptopMedia video. This time we've got a bit different video for you. It is summertime and most of the vendors are preparing their new products for the upcoming IFA event. But while we're waiting to see what the new technological trends will be, we decided to see what lies behind this process of creating new products. That's why I traveled to one of the new technological capitals of 21st century, Taipei, Taiwan. During the Computex 2015, I met Wayne Akoka, a strategic partners director in GSmart, a brand part of the big Gigabyte Corporation family. We all know Gigabyte because of the tons of hardware they're producing. We know their motherboards, their graphic adapters, and many more. But let's now talk a bit about their smartphones. How starts their way to the market and to us, the end customers? How hard it is to fight for market share in a field where customer requirements are getting higher and higher, prices are dropping, and giant corporations are in a constant clash for customers' attention. Apple, Samsung, and LG are just some of the huge companies that are working in this field. Watch my interview with Wayne to learn more about the strategic approach of the companies to different markets, different products, and of course, we're going to see some of the new products that GSmart are going to show this autumn. Quite frankly, I was so impressed and excited about everything that Wayne shared with us, so we decided to publish the whole interview without any cuts. It's a bit long, so you can jump from topic to topic using the links in the video description. Enjoy and don't forget to subscribe and post your questions right under the video. See you in our next video. Bye.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm Wayne. I'm Wayne Akoka. I'm in charge of product development. I'm the product development director at Gigabyte Communication, the mother company of GSmart. I was also in charge up to recently with product marketing, and also in charge of strategic partnerships in Europe. So with carriers. So I'll get into that a little later. So, as I mentioned, I work at Gigabyte Communication. Gigabyte Communication is a subsidiary of the Gigabyte Technology Group, which is famous for its motherboard. It was founded in 1986, and right now, for the last 2 years, it's become first in the world, tied with ASUS. Okay, Gigabyte itself, technology, owns 30% of the market share of motherboards in China. So it's pretty big, and tied with ASUS. ASUS was historically always in front of us, but we have caught up with them those last few years by especially making affordable motherboards and some that are focused on gaming and having like a clear product strategy for customers to understand. Gigabyte Communication was founded in 2006. At first we started to do feature phones at that time, and then we developed into Windows Mobile, and then from Windows Mobile to Android, and then Android till now. Okay, we have worked with many different chipset manufacturers, which is very important in the mobility business. So you can mention Qualcomm, Spreadtrum, MediaTek, and even Intel on specific projects. So that gives us kind of a solid understanding of the mobility business in general, its possibilities, its capabilities for us to build better products. So historically, we have focused on dual SIM devices. So from the start with feature phones, then full-fledged feature phones like video, etc., onto Windows Mobile and Android. Like we were the first to bring dual SIM on Windows Mobile, for example. I forgot which year exactly, but back in the day. So now we focus on Android devices, and we're always exploring possibilities for future product categories. Every market has different requirements. Some are price, some are quality, some are design, etc. Let's take West Europe, for example. They're still, until now, the last 2 years, was always focused on quality, image. Like when you buy a BlackBerry, you're a pro. When you buy HTC, you're a young technology enthusiast. And when you buy Apple, you're the fashion guru. So that's in West Europe. But other markets, it's more focused on cost and flexibility. In Europe, you're able to have like 2-year contracts, 1-year contracts, etc. But some markets where cost is a main factor of your daily life, you have to have that flexibility. And have that flexibility can influence on the technology that you want to bring. Dual SIM is one of those flexible things. It doesn't mean everybody is going to use it, but the day you need to, you have it, and you don't need to spend extra money. So everything factors in. So how we target our markets also depending on the price segments that we're able to deliver. We had changing strategy 3 years back, but before we were still targeting, technological innovation, but that's not enough anymore because any innovation has cost, and that cost cannot be easily transferred to markets. So now we're looking into the middle end, low end, middle end devices with good design, solid specs, and good reliability. And that's where we're trying to differentiate ourselves with our competitors. Well, that's funny. A few years ago was maybe 1 year, one product, or maybe 1 year, two products. And then it got a little shorter with Android, so it's about 6 months. And then with MediaTek, closed up to 3 months. Why? There's differences between chipset manufacturers. That's why you're seeing a lot of movement. Qualcomm was always number one, and now they're becoming number two, number three, because of the flexibility and the R&D resources that you need to put into. Qualcomm, when they gave you a chipset solution, it's 60% mature. And to bring it to market, let's say your target would be 80%, 90 being A brand, so 80% as a open market brand. You have to put a lot of effort. But MediaTek, because of the way they develop their platform and they give us the tools to develop the products, you have like 75 to 80% maturity. So the extra effort you have to put on is minimal. MediaTek built its platform, like when you take screens, memory, whatever, as a Lego. So you have, for memory, 50 choices of memory vendors, 50 choices of power management IC, etc. You choose what you want, you put it in, it works with minimal rework. But with Qualcomm, you have 2 or 3 choices, and if you want something else more exotic, like camera module, which is a special 30 megapixel or whatever, you have to work around it and develop it yourself. But if you have that R&D, it's very hard to make, so it has cost. If today my sales team tell us, okay, we're seeing a need for September, we're in June, for September for a phone, okay, if I choose Qualcomm, it's going to take some time to develop. So what we did in our strategy is to take MediaTek for very fast to market products and Qualcomm maybe higher end. And that's exactly how Qualcomm is positioning itself, more the mid-end, high-end tier. So that's how we do. MediaTek for a short-term, short lifespan, and flagships more or less with Qualcomm. But that's changing. That's starting to change with the MediaTek, they had the octa-core platforms, and now they have the Helios and the P series. So it's gonna change a lot. Well, speed is a very important factor to be on market. We call this in spec, in time with the right spec. Because you can have the right spec, but maybe you're 2 months late, so the price isn't right, etc. So you have to be on time, untimely. So it puts a lot of pressure on us because, of course, and that's true for everyone, 3 months development time instead of 6. You have more bugs, you have more trouble. But this is something the market can accept because if it's the right price, they know, okay, it's a $130 phone. That's the quality of $130. And if I want Samsung, who takes time to develop the product, then I get $50 more and I can get a Samsung, for example. So that's one thing, but market is always asking for new things, but the platforms, the chipsets themselves, which really dictate what we can do around specs, don't evolve that fast. You have one middle-end platform every 9 to 12 months from MediaTek. Qualcomm is once a year. So you can have same product, almost same spec, different design, but twice in a year or 3 times in a year. And that's very hard to go around. Because if you want to keep a product on shelf for a long time, you have to spend a lot of marketing. And if you want to keep it shorter term, you spend less marketing, but the new design itself, or the new packaging, or the new features itself just are able to sell themselves with minimal marketing input. So it's a tricky thing. So when we develop a product, what I do is I take a lot of time to listen to the feedback from my sales on the market situation, what they are expecting, and we're trying to anticipate what's coming. You do that market research, then you do sourcing research to see 2 quarters or 1 quarter by now what the prices of main components will be. Who cares about screws, but it cares about LCM, so the memory. Chipset is more or less standard camera, and trying to see what's going to be the mainstream of specs. Like you can know that 5-inch HD is going to be super mainstream at the end of the year with FWVGA screens coming lower and lower. So you have to do all that research, and once you have to identify the right spec and components that fits the market requirement, but it also fits what is achievable. Of course, everything's possible when you think about it, but when you try to achieve, if it's not well made or well thought, then you have stock and all that price protection pressure, all that stuff that you don't want to. So it's always a gamble. But I get also my information from the work I do with carriers in Europe, in West Europe. So carriers are also good indicators of what to come, because they're mass market, and they know what the mainstream spec they're going to have or need 9 months from now. And it's more or less the same. Maybe the open market will have little better spec for the same price, but you can get that. You know what they want. So with all that information, then you can start building phones. I have to say it's not healthy. Not healthy at all, because people have been used to until 3 years or 4 years ago, they were used to buying expensive phones. The most affordable one were the Android ones, maybe with the Google phones, the entry-level HTC, entry-level Samsungs, and Apple, which is like much more expensive. And people were getting tired to pay that much because of financial crisis and external causes. So it was important for them to have an alternative which is much cheaper. They're like, oh my God, same spec, cheaper price, $300 or $400 difference. Okay, I'm gonna try. And so that made open market very big, very dynamic from our knowledge, and people were open to different alternatives. So it's not very healthy in the way that there's so much competition. The margins are extremely low, and if you provide quality service to your customer, then your margin is even lower. Like you can see a lot of brands. I'm not saying we're a brand, we're just a normal open market brand, but you're seeing a lot of, like in France, for example, I come from France, you have 43 different open market brands. So it's very hard for a customer to say, oh, I want to have one choice among 43, okay? And the specs are always the same. But a lot of vendors, what they're doing, they cheat. They say, I have a better camera, but it's not the case. I have better power, but it's not the case, etc. So what we're trying to do is being very clear to the customer when we make our marketing, when we make our products, to be very clear of what they have and what our competitors don't. And at Gigabyte, you could say naturally our competition could be Asus with like Zenphones or people like that. What's important to know is that compared to other brands on the open market, Gigabyte is a very, very big company in the IT world. We have very, very good processes for after sales. And after sales is key. You can't just sell a phone and say, okay, then if there's a trouble, we won't be here. A lot of brands do that, especially open market brands, and that's very known of. But at Gigabyte, we pride ourselves in having the best customer service possible. So of course, our products are not reliable as what you say, as an Apple phone or something like this, but we're trying to give the best service possible to the end customer. So we have service centers in every country, we have a good system and turnaround time to provide that service to our customers. And that's something very important that other brands can't give. And let's say some brands would like bankrupt or close down. What does the customer do? He can't do anything. But with Gigabyte, you're always here. We always give OTA updates for bug fixing, etc. for our products. So that's where value comes from. Because products, to be honest, are more or less the same. People will say like the Zenfone 2 is a great phone on paper, but because it has a full HD screen for that price, etc. But when you look at the quality of the screen, the quality of the camera, you realize it's not that true anymore. Okay, so our customers, I feel, are starting to learn. 2 or 3 years ago, it was more about price, and now they're trying to learn. They start to know what's real and what's not, and that's something good for us. But the competition is still very, very
You
tough.
basically think that the phrase healthy competition is kind of impossible to exist in nowadays market?
It's very hard. You got online stores that cut the whole distribution channels, that can kill prices of classic retailers. You got people importing Chinese phones without doing any quality checks on them, and the customer is kind of lost. Oh, I have the same spec for $50 less. Why do I take yours, or why should I take yours? And if you want to communicate with the customer, it takes time. So we've been around not for 3 years or 4 years, but for quite some time. So since 2006, so almost 10 years. So we're more stable to the customer, but we have to prove ourselves regularly to keep that position. Well, the starting point is getting all the data. So I mentioned that earlier. It means do the market research, do the sourcing research, understand the roadmaps of the chipset vendors. This takes some time. And once you have that global understanding, that global view, it's easier for you to create products. Of course, you can base yourself on the products that already exist. So you're like, oh, the next generation of this product, what's going to be? It has to be the same or better. So what I usually do is I take existing products. So it's hard when you start at first, but once you start, it's okay. So you take it's like a grid. You take the grid of products, and there's actually 2 things that happen. Let's say the product life cycle is 6 months. So either in the next 6 months, for the same price, I get better spec, because it's only about price segments, or I get the same spec for a cheaper price, and the price segments are easy. $79, $99, $129, $149, $199, basically. So it's either I keep the same spec for a cheaper price, or I upgrade the specs but I keep the same price. So now and from that you can do a lot of calculations. So you can know that the prices of the screen is going to go down 3 to 5% quarterly. There's going to be a mass demand for it. It's going to be even cheaper. Or you can say there's a new technology coming in with a new chipset that we can bring at that price point, etc. So we look at the roadmap, we look at the market data we have, and we're trying to create products that are that have good features for price. Okay, price is a key thing, and that has changed. Before it was more about innovation. Now it's about price and design, and what can you offer to the customer. So we get the specs down, the specifications down. Of course, there's quotations going on. Can our customers accept, okay, it's the replacement of this product, it'll be $3 or $5 more expensive, but you get this, or the market can't accept it and you have to keep the same price or lower it a little. That's where you have it takes about 2-3 weeks to a month, where you kind of get that data, and then you can start developing products. But that's not just for one product, it's like many products at the same time. So we have the idea of what we're going to develop each quarter, so we have a clear vision. So we do one big roadmap per year, and then we adjust it according to timing and what's available and what's the market research requirements. So then we start designing the product, of course, around the different platforms that we're choosing. And at the same time, you have to choose product design. You have to do the product design and the hardware choices. For product design, it's a tricky thing. A lot of people would ask, and I'm gonna be very blunt about this, why our product line doesn't have the same design. Let's say, oh, why can Apple have a small 4.7 inch? Why can it have a 5.5 inch? Why does every Samsung phone from $50 to $600 look the same? And why can't you do that? It's because we're not the main actors. We're not setting trends, but we know that our customers have different tastes and different requirements. So, and it's hard to know in advance what they're going to like, since we're more followers than creators. So what we do is, like, we have every time we have different segments of products. Before we had 6, now we're simplifying to 3. We have different design for each segments, and according to market demand, like when we first launch a product, they're going to say, oh, this product was well received by reviews, they really like the design, and we're going to try to continue with this design influence on our next products. But as we're smaller than others, we can't take the risk of saying, oh, we're going to make it all those 6 phones the same. If they don't sell, I die. But so we're trying to be smart about it and have different proposals, and if some work, we keep them and improve them for next generation models, and we keep that influence. We learn from the market. That's how we go for product design. When the product is developed, we of course have different stages, EVT, DVT, DVT2 maybe, and PVT, which is pre-production. And at each stage, we have quality team assessing the different hardware. So EVT is more about the hardware integration, first integration. So at EVT, you're looking at gaps, you're looking at cracks, you're looking at strength, all that stuff. And starting at DVT is first software integration. So you're starting to look if everything works well together and get bugs cleaned out. So even already at DVT, we give samples to our customers, we give samples for certification, because the timeline is very short. You have to get a product on market in about 3 months. Certification sometimes takes 1 to 2 months, CE, all that stuff. So it takes a lot of time. So we give the products in advance. At the same time, we have to find the bugs, we have to sell them. So it's an activity where all our teams have to be on point and perfectly in sync to develop the product on time. Because 2 weeks, 3 weeks delay early can turn into a month or 2 at the end. So this is where we're very open. Even our sales team, our customers participates in debugging products to make sure that they're compatible with the local network, to make sure that the main functions work well, that the translations are well done, etc. So this is a lot of work that we put a lot of work into that quality assurance. We pride ourselves in that.
And that should be a relief for a company like Gigabyte, having so many products on the market in different platform categories. That should be a massive process, probably.
Luckily, we're changing to subsidiaries with our own team, but we have the same system, testing system, and experience. Like, for example, when you're doing software testing or reliability testing as quality people, the scenarios that we have are the ones that we learned from all the years that we were working in feature phones or smartphone, from 2006 to now. That's a lot of experience that we had. That's experience that we got from after sales. So why this product had more problems than this one. Then we learn about it and we take all that knowledge and implement them in our testing process. So of course, nothing is bulletproof, but since we learn, we're making our product better and better. So that's the true target. We also involve our after-sales team in the conception of the product, because the after-sales people look at things differently than we do. They're like, oh, that component has to be soldered a different way, because if you're going to use it a lot, then it's going to come unsoldered and it'll be a problem later on. So all our teams are involved in the creative process. And maybe 1.5 months before launch, we're already working on marketing material to give to our channels, so they can learn and anticipate future product deliveries. So it's a huge enterprise, and everybody has to be on point, in sync, to make sure that everything is done right and on time. If you rush it, you'll neglect things. If you take too much time, you'll lose your sales window. So it's tricky. It's become more tricky now than before. What big companies bring to the table is processes. Processes for production, for quality, for development. It brings a big structure for everything. Even human resources, they bring structure. But in IT, if you focus only on one type of product, as we did before doing smartphones or notebooks, etc., you're vulnerable. You're vulnerable to markets, you're vulnerable to change, and you have to diversify your portfolio that's simple business, to diversify your portfolio to stay afloat. What we have done is the same that Asus has done. Asus has always done notebooks and computers. We do notebooks and PC components too. They've done smartphone. they're doing other stuff also. We're doing the same. And we always have to keep that knowledge consistent over the years. If you stop doing it, you lose knowledge. And if you lose knowledge, the day that you will need it, or you have the ambition to switch or to put more attention on a certain type of device, you will have to start from zero. So we're always prepared for that. We get help from GBT for a lot of quality control in factory. All that knowledge is very precious for us. So the question would be on production, like in the past we produced a lot of products in Taiwan because we have 2 factories in Taiwan and 2 in China. But now because of cost requirement, we're obliged to go to China. So honestly, we do produce products in China with partners, with third-party partners. But all the quality checks, all the production check, all that is done by our Taiwanese teams in China. So we still keep those standards very high. That's because you produce somewhere else that you have to sacrifice on standards. So that's where, you know, being a Taiwanese manufacturer is different because we're educated to have more focus on the quality of things than just the price. You know, PlayStations are made in Taiwan and they are not made in China for a reason. Or Foxconn is a Taiwanese company and not a Chinese company for a reason. That's exactly it. We won't neglect, we don't take shortcuts. There's a couple brands that benefited from this. The first one, which was really big, was HTC. You know, when they started doing smartphones and the first Google Dream phone, they brought a lot of knowledge, and they're still, in my opinion, making some of the best products in the world. Reliability is very, very good. They make very, very good products. But so as Taiwanese, you know, you can only be proud that you have other companies that are very big on that. But if you look at any Taiwanese company, Gigabyte, first of all, is that you're looking at very good reliability, very good R&D, and very good after sales. You know, and when you look in China, it's not the same thing. Like, let's say you buy a Xiaomi phone on internet. That's cool. How does the after sales work? Do you go through internet? Do you have a store? How does that work? And, you know, as a customer, the customer behavior, doesn't matter where in the world, is still the same. Will I have support when I have problems? Same goes for carriers. Carriers are not that bad. They have stores everywhere. If you have a problem, you lost your phone, they give you a new one. You get a new SIM card right away. You get all that support. But if you go for an MVNO, you have to wait for your SIM card that's mailed by, the service not open on weekend, you have to wait Monday, you have to wait for the SIM card to mail, and then you can have your phone. So people are starting to understand, because they went from one extreme to another, the importance of service. And at Gigabyte, that's what we're trying to give. More than just price, more than just spec, is to have that good service and to be there and stable for the customer and not just sell and leave.
Product plus service.
Yeah, service, you can't take one without the other. That's for us.
And here we are in front of 2 new products of the company, or in front of
2 of our devices.
Yeah, 2 of the devices. From what I can see, they look from different price categories.
Yes.
Let's start with probably with the Classic 5.
Okay, so the Classic 5, as you can see, there's one feature that's, not to say a feature, but something very interesting that you're going to see here is the name Spreadtrum. So you know MediaTek, you know Qualcomm, and who's Spreadtrum? Not a lot of people would know. Spreadtrum is actually, so Qualcomm is an American company, MediaTek is Taiwanese, and Spreadtrum is Chinese chipset manufacturer. They've been around for quite some time. They've been doing, you know, chipsets for like feature phones and especially for CDMA networks, which is half the market in China. And now that their ambition now is to become a very big actor in the chipset landscape. So they've been invested by Intel, 1.5 billion, and the same amount by Chinese government. So it's a big company that you're going to start hearing about this year and the coming years. Their ambition is to be very a big actor of in the open market. Okay, so you see them a lot in India right now, in China, and you're going to start seeing them in much more other markets in the near future. So Spreadtrum, right now you're looking this year strategy-wise at 2 chipsets. They're launching 2 chipsets. This one, 7731.
Quad-core one?
Yeah, a quad-core one, and an LTE version at the end of the year. So that's it. When MediaTek has like 10 different products and Qualcomm 20, 20 different variants, they have 2. It's clear. I want to take over 3G with a quad-core, very affordable quad-core device. This is basically the same price, chipset-wise, as the dual-core from MediaTek. So you got quad-core power for a dual-core price. And then they're trying to do the same thing at the end of the year with LTE. So it's maybe cheaper, but it has the same type of performance that you can expect from MediaTek or Qualcomm because they follow ARM architecture. And the ARM architecture, if you don't modify it, is the same for everyone.
How do you start working with new company like this one or your partnership? What is this?
We
work come to you and say, guys, we want to work together.
We worked with Spreadtrum before, especially in feature phones when we started. So we always had that relationship with them. And now, in last year or 2 years ago, we had a dual SIM, dual active device with a Qualcomm main chipset and a secondary chipset from Spreadtrum for 2G. So we've always maintained that relationship with them, and it's the last year where their strategy has changed that we're again ready to help push them in the market. So this is a very entry-level device, 5-inch, but we don't sacrifice on price on features. You got, instead of FWVGA screen on 5-inch that you always have with most of our competitors, we're giving QHD with IPS, so higher resolution IPS screen. We're giving 1 gigabyte RAM when a lot of people are exciting 5-inch FWVGA with like 4 gigabyte 512. But we all know that 1 gigabyte is the minimum you can accept, and 4 gigabyte, as soon as you install like 10 apps, you have no more space.
Yeah.
So 8 gigabyte plus 1, it's a choice from us. And why we chose this chipset is because we're able to compensate, good specs and make the total value performance very good compared to before. So we're cheaper in price, better specs.
Are they going to focus on low-end category devices, or they're going to put some...
Now, of course, they're starting from the low end, so the entry-level devices, but I think that in the coming years, you'll be seeing much more higher end. Like MediaTek started with the lower end devices, and now they're doing S810, competitors.
Yeah.
So they start humble, and they will be rising up. They're backed by China, so they will be main actors, and we are trying to anticipate that trend. It's a good chipset.
And who this phone is going to be for? Who would you recommend it to?
I mean, right now you want to recommend it for first-time smartphone buyers, young people that want not a small screen like 4.5, but a large screen to have a comfortable first-time experience with the device. With decent memory for pictures, decent camera also, to have that first experience in smartphones. So we're targeting this device as very, very entry level.
But still offering
QHD, IPS, very good memory configuration, and eventually Lollipop. But this we have to double check with the chipset manufacturer when it'll be available.
And
Guru is like the other extreme. So this is the very, very entry level, and this is our flagship device. It's LTE connectivity, so 4G. It's ultra light, ultra thin. It's 115 grams. So for 5-inch, it's much lighter than. It's the same weight as a Galaxy Alpha, basically, but light, but with a bigger screen. 5-inch Full HD. It has a Full HD screen. Alpha is 720p. Octa-core processor, so it's the 8939 from Qualcomm, aka S615 for the market. 13 megapixel Exmor RS camera in the back, Gorilla Glass 3. So with this device, we're really trying to build, to have that different type of design. It actually looks like a metal slab has been built in a frame. Okay, so it's very thin. There's no camera bump on the back. And has a very, very, very good screen, especially for the angles, the viewing angles. Well, today we're presenting like the really extreme, because there's some in the middle, but those are the devices we're trying to push.
How do you decide how many devices to put in a category or in?
Well, before I put 6 categories, so you would basically have a delta in cost in the RSP about $20 or $30 between the products. But then we said that categories chew each other up. So we wanted to simplify it, and that's what we're doing now with 3 categories: Classic, Wow, and Elite, which are the coming products that you will see. So it's entry-level, mid-end, high-end. Very clear for the customer. The price segments are very clear also, and it helps deliver a better message. So we're going to work on that. See, even if it's a cheap phone, we're trying to have hairline texture in the back, kind of like what you see on HTC One series.
Some of the Samsung devices.
Exactly. So it's maybe entry level, but it has all the features that you would need. And right now we're working on the next flagship. So this is the first prototype that I can show you. It's dual glass aluminum frame. So this was single glass aluminum plastic frame, and now we're going to full aluminum frame and dual glass. So we're still under study. We're proposing it to our customers right now. It's a dual glass with an aluminum frame around it. So as you can see, it's very sleek, very clean with the antenna cuts on the side. It's dual SIM, okay.
Where is the SIM slot?
SIM slot here, yeah. This is a prototype, so we don't have everything on it.
Does it feature micro SD card slot, and it's going to be?
From memory, it does have micro SD slot. So this product is an example of what we've been thinking in development. Is that from MediaTek, you've been hearing a lot about their LTE chipset and products with LTE with MediaTek that came out earlier this year, and our customers were like, "Oh, Wayne, GSmart, you're late. Everybody already has MediaTek LTE. You haven't got a product out," because we only had the Qualcomm solution. And I said, you know, the chipset that you're using, 6732, is going to phase out in 2 months for 6735. People were like, why? How do you know that? Why? It's because 6732 from the conception has very bad power consumption and not very stable LTE connectivity. So what I decided, which was a strong decision to make, is to skip that chipset family and wait for the newer version, 6735. So it's 64-bit, etc. But now you have much more reliable LTE modem and less heat problem and performance problem. So we're happy about that one. So it has
more about the resolution of the screen.
So you got an HD screen, 8 megapixel camera. Front camera is 2 megapixels. You got 1 gigabyte, 8 gigabyte memory configuration, micro SD slot. So in a very, very sleek package. Okay.
The frame is metal?
Yeah, the frame is metal. You can touch it. It's chamfered on the side, kind of like what Apple does. So it's still a prototype.
But it looks very stylish, very nice.
It's very clean. We're trying to bring something clean.
See the new Android?
Android 5.0, yeah. LTE connectivity, of course. As you can see, the screen is really centered in the middle with the same distances on front and top. We changed the physical keys to on-screen keys, but still remaining transparent. Like you can see on Google phones, the bar is black. We make it transparent, so the screen doesn't look smaller.
Yeah.
Okay, and doesn't help.
I see that it turns on. Is it some kind of when it turns on? Is it some kind of?
Like that. Those are software features that we didn't implement. It works on this one, but not on that one yet. So we're still building that product. We're trying to see the interest of the market for LTE.
Seriously changed user interface. From what I can see, it's going to feature some.
From each model, we're trying to try different things from the stock Android. So trying different interfaces, different third-party vendors for interface. So
it looks pretty stylish, definitely.
It's nice. It's also available in white and gold. So gold in the middle, white and white. So we've been testing different options on the screen. Do we want 2.5D screen? But it makes it a little thicker, but a little more comfortable. So it's always what you're trying to trade in, trade off with this phone. And you got a front LED for selfies. It's big things. You got a front LED. So we're really trying to build a different type of product. This will be a little middle high end type of product. Yeah.
So be it above the Guru GX probably.
It'll replace Guru GX, maybe without Full HD, so it'll be lower in price. But we'll have a real middle-end product coming out that we're developing right now. But with a little thicker plastic, of course, not metal, but with also decent specs. So it really depends on what the customer is looking for. Is he looking for something stylish, much more premium, or something more cheaper, but still with good specs? I just want to reinforce it's still the same message to me. I mean, products, nowadays, there's only 3 chipset vendors. There is that many configuration that you can make. 5-inch screen is FWVGA, HD, Full HD. That's it. There's not a lot of options that you can make. So products are more or less the same, to be honest. What we bring, though, product-wise, like I said on this one, for example, is that to bring decent specs. I don't want, because of price, that I'm going to sacrifice user experience. Maybe it's going to be tougher on my sales team, tougher on distributors and partners, but you have a much more better experience. And on the long term, customers will appreciate that. They will say, oh, but I remember I had that phone, it didn't have that problem compared to this one. So we still need some basic spec that I won't go under, okay? And so that's product-wise. So products, you have to have good, decent products for modern use. Not because of price, you're going to change the camera or you change the memory, just because of the fun of it. A device has to be future-proof. You don't want to change it every 6 months. Okay. So product-wise, that's that. Then GSmart. We're a Taiwanese company, so the focus on quality, reliability is something that we always work on. I'm not going to say that our reliability is the best. It's very hard to make reliable products in a very short time frame, but our support for the products is very, very good. And this is really something that we're proud of, and we're trying to improve every single time. I can say that our RMA team is one of our biggest teams here, not because the products break down a lot, it's because we're managing about 29 service centers in the world. So 29 service centers, we launched 30 products in the first 3 years, multiplied by X parts, X number of customers, it makes a lot of stuff to manage. So that's where we pride ourselves in giving the best support possible to the customer and have that decent product. If you want the best products, of course, you'll spend more money, but for that price, we're trying to offer the best overall package on the long term. If you look at short term, they'll always be cheaper, they'll always be prettier. But on the long term, you'll see that we're trying to maintain that standard, which is we try to be higher than other people.
I left Wayne and Taipei with the clear understanding of how much strategic planning, persistence, and not least how much chance is a permanent part of his and his colleagues' work. And next time when I pick up a new smartphone in hand, I will definitely think twice before completely rule it out of my interest. Thanks for watching and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.